So earlier today, I went to go get lunch.
You do that often. Almost every day.
Nearly daily.
Mhm.
Not daily, which is probably an issue, but nearly daily. And so I was in the mood for a double Western cheeseburger.
Good call.
Yeah. I have a very acute affinity for Carl's Jr. and their food offerings. In fact, I was really sad. I went to go pick up Nigel, however long ago it was. Nigel's our new pup. And in Iowa, they have Hardee's.
Mm-hmm.
So the menu's different.
It's not the same menu, though?
No. So I couldn't get a double Western. I couldn't get crisp cut fries.
Wait. Hardee's doesn't have a double Western?
No.
Hardee's can F right off then.
I'm saying. Maybe they just don't like it because Western and they hate all of us out here. I don't know. But the point is, they don't have a double Western and they don't have crisp cut fries. And both of those facts made me very sad. They still have the very delicious chicken strips that they make.
No.
What?
You lost me at double Western, dude.
All right.
Hardee's is dead to me.
Okay. Well, whether or not it's dead, that was what I was in the mood for. I was in the mood for Carl's Jr., probably in part due to the Hardee's not having what I wanted a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to go get food for Reese and myself. And I pulled up to the drive-thru, and lo and behold, somebody started talking to me. But it's funny, it wasn't a somebody.
Is this like a he, her, him, she thing?
First of all, I think you don't know how to do the pronoun thing.
There was pronouns in there somewhere, right?
Second of all, no. I mean, possibly in that you could refer to it as a they because it was AI. AI took my order today at Carl's Jr.
For people like me,
Mm-hmm.
what does AI stand for?
Well, it's important that it's for people like you because it is artificial intelligence for those that don't have real intelligence.
As I call it, alien intelligence.
Sure.
Ooh, just blew his mind.
No, you just stopped my mind. It was so
The truth
drab
is out there.
that it just slowed me down. Anyways,
X-Files.
yeah. So a basically computer designed program interacted with me to take my order today.
That was probably kind of weird though, right? Like weird, kind of cool though?
So the only part of it that I felt was weird was at the very beginning when I didn't know that that's what I was getting.
Mm-hmm.
Once I just became part of the conversation, it was less weird. And so like,
How quickly did you realize?
less than 10 seconds.
Really?
Yeah, because with AI, like they give it human voice, which is the only thing that tricks you really. Because if it's conversational, then it has to have a half stop while it recognizes what it's trying to say.
Okay, so it does have that little awkwardness, so you can break it up and tell
Right.
it's not.
And now, granted, at a fast food establishment, you may have somebody that has to pause for at least half a second while they process what you're saying.
No, never happened.
But yeah, so it was cool because I ordered my stuff and then, well, okay, let me back up. So it starts and it tries to sell you on a new food item, which is pretty regular right now at fast food places anyway. Like even normal places, there'll be some sort of recording that tries to sell you on something real quick, probably to buy the person that's going to talk to you 30 seconds of time. Then they get on and ask you what you want. Well, in this, it did that same thing. It tried to get me to get one of their new items.
Yeah.
And then I said, no, thank you. And so then it proceeded to ask me what I wanted to order. So I go through my order and there were a couple small modifications to it. But when I finished, then it read me back the order as it understood it. And then it said, is that correct?
Oh.
And I said, no. And so then I said no, and I corrected the two things that were wrong. And so it went, okay. And then it read back the order again to verify that it had gotten the correct order the second time.
Yeah.
And I said, yes, that's correct. And it said, great. And then it tried to upsell me on a couple other things before I was done ordering. And I said, no, I'm okay. And then it gave me my total, and then I drove around.
Now, did you hate its voice?
No.
All right.
No, in fact, I probably liked its voice better because the other thing, and to go outside the fourth wall, I did talk to you about this a little bit earlier. And I mentioned that when you go to a drive-through, normally it sounds like somebody talking on a megaphone or through a megaphone to a microphone that's like 6 rooms away.
Yeah.
And
that's if their stuff's working.
Right.
Yeah.
And this was super, super clear, like crystal clear conversation.
See, that right there would throw you off too.
Right. And so it was fantastic because at least I knew the conversation I was having.
Mm-hmm.
Like both sides of the conversation understood what was going on. And so then I got to the front because I was a little worried, right? I get to the front and I'm like, man, there's only going to be one person up here because they eliminated a job because they were able to do this. And I get up to the window and there were still 2 people working. There was a person working the counter and there was a person working the window. And I realized they didn't eliminate a job. They eliminated a task of the job that made it hard for the person that was doing that job to do their job properly.
Yeah, now they can just help with the counter and get things ready for the drive-through instead of having to take the order.
Right. They can actually go through, check to make sure that they have everything right in the order. They can make your change and not have to worry about, in the middle of all that, then hitting the button to take the order of the person that's at the drive-through waiting for their order to be taken next.
That's the best part, hitting the button.
Do you know that from experience?
No.
Okay. So
no drive-through at Little Caesars, man.
There might be now somewhere.
Yeah.
Now that they have hot and ready, I bet you there is a Little Caesars somewhere with
like you always tell me, the future is now.
The future is now because it took my order today.
And what's weird,
and got it right.
But what's crazy is the future is now. We're talking about AI, but this is technically a flashback episode, I think.
Is it?
Well, we're going to tie it into it. So we're going to have both. We're going to have both ends of the spectrum, right? We're going to have the future. We're going to have the past.
So what's our throwback word? The Jetsons?
No. But
it's was that movie with Tom Cruise? Minority Report.
Minority Report. Well, he's got a couple. He did War of the Worlds, Minority Report. Jerry Maguire. That was the future, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And also, what's that other one? Color Money. That was definitely future.
Definitely the future. So I'm excited about the flashback episode. Should we tell them what it is right now or save it for after the music?
I say we save it for after the show.
You say that about a lot of our words, though.
Well, I mean, really, I just think that maybe we shouldn't be doing this.
Oh, are you quitting again?
No, I'm not quitting. I'm just thinking that maybe there are other people out there that don't think we should be doing this.
No.
Oh.
Well, who would that be? AI?
Well, no, I think just most of the people that don't listen to us.
Yeah, it's Flashback Friday, man. Friend.
Oh, cool.
And
are we going to do a word?
Yeah, but what are these people listening to, man?
Well, I don't know.
Well, hopefully they're listening on their 80s Sony Walkman.
I don't think you can do that.
Sure you can. They still work.
Well, they still work, but it's not a streaming device.
You plug it in the right set of headphones, you can pull it off.
At the time, the only streaming device was, probably a Super Soaker.
I don't get it.
Think about it.
I will. I'll think about it during the music. I'm Dan.
I'm Matt.
And this is Hang Out with Your Slang Out. So my favorite thing about the 80s were the socks.
The socks?
The shorts.
Shorts I'll give you, but socks?
The music. Okay. Favorite thing about the 80s? What'd I say? Socks?
Yep.
The music.
You said socks, shorts, music.
Coca-Cola.
I don't know. New Coke got released in the 80s.
And they didn't get the respect they should have got. But you know what you know what I loved? Nerds. The candy.
The candy?
And some of my friends.
No. I just like the candy.
No. Well, that's because technically we might get classified as nerds.
You mean we?
I mean we, don't deny it.
No, I just don't think you're smart enough to be a nerd.
There's I play smart on TV pretty well. There's a reason.
Maybe we should try being on TV then.
Yeah. You refuse to go on camera though.
Oh, I'm fine now. I showered and shit.
So that's 1 out of 50 episodes.
Uh-huh. Cool. No, it's 1 out of 49 episodes. We haven't recorded episode 50 yet.
Oh, wow. Guy takes a shower and he knows his math. But anyways, my daughter, I think those words came out of her mouth. Like, you two guys are nerds. Here, meet each other, be best friends. And ever since then, we've been walking hand to hand, talking about Foo Fighters and math.
Just to clarify for everybody, realize that he said hand to hand, like combat, not hand in hand.
Yeah, because, not that there's anything wrong with that, right?
No, there wouldn't be. I just wanted to clarify that we're more at odds than walking hand in hand.
We do a lot of thumb wrestling, too.
Well, sometimes you got to declare a thumb war.
But it's kind of, back in the 80s, being a nerd sucked. Being named a nerd sucked, unless you got your own movie.
Spoiler alert, being called a nerd now still sucks.
No, it's the day of the nerd. So it's the millennium of the nerd, right? Year of the nerd?
The age of the nerd?
Sure.
I think age was what you were looking for.
I think the nerds for the last 10 years have taken over. It's been cool to be a nerd.
I don't think so the thing is I don't think that it's cool to be a nerd. The things that have happened are, one, nerds have started making a lot of money, which by extension makes you seem cooler than you are. Not us, but real nerds.
But hasn't like nerd culture taken over?
I guess
just because of technology and where.
Well, people keep telling me that, but then like look at everybody. Like, has nerd culture really taken over?
I think to a certain extent.
Talk about it.
Here's how the nerd culture is taken over, because it took nerds or very smart people, right, to invent all this stuff, like the stuff we're doing right now, and streaming this stuff to you, thousands of listeners in the future. Took a nerd to get it that way, right? So people who are not smart can use the technology.
Not necessarily, because nerd isn't just a straight change for a smart person.
Oh, what else? Well, yeah, I guess not. Did we look it up? No, because
and that's kind of, I guess, where I was going with the argument is that
there's got to be a tweak to it.
The second part of it that makes nerd feel less uncool than it was when we were young is our generation specifically has embraced the idea of being called a nerd now, where in the past we were the ones most aggressively trying to stop it.
Well, in the early 80s, you called somebody a nerd. That was like,
they better go to a new school.
Yeah, it was like but that was like pocket protector, your pant length, your ankles were showing, and you had like you had tape on your glasses and stuff. Probably combed your hair with a pork chop. Sorry, guys, but
combed your hair with a pork chop.
Well, you know the look, right? Kind of like
Apparently
what you got.
I don't.
Kind of like what you got going on right now.
Excuse me, man with no hair.
Wait. So I'm trying to look up nerd, but the first thing that pops up just on Google, a person, especially a man, now why is it going to come after us, who is not attractive and is awkward or socially embarrassing?
I mean, that describes you to a T. Well, except the man part.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, I got socially embarrassing locked up.
I mean, realistically, that is the definition of nerd. Like, if we really want to take this back to the 80s, there was a series of pretty darn good movies about nerds and their revenge.
Yeah, they were pretty fun.
But
you remember
that definition definitely feels...
You remember the nerd laugh?
Yeah, but I can't do it.
I used to be able to do it. I don't know if I can do it. I think only nerds can do it. How is it?
You have to make sure that you have an inhaler close by at all times when you do that laugh. Growing up, if you got called nerd, it sucks because you were just like, crap, I'm not a nerd. And it covered so many different things. And it very rarely covered being a smart person. They understood that you were smart, but you were smart and like disheveled. Like, you didn't know which way your clothes were supposed to go on your body and shit like that.
Very anti-cool.
Yeah. But those nerds grew up and...
But the best thing in every John Hughes movie is the real pretty, less than smart, popular people always had to find and become friends with the nerds by the end.
Yeah. How do you think they were going to get through high school?
Exactly. And they all like dance and party and have a have a good time at the end. Because that's what nerds do. They bring people together.
Well, yeah, I think they used to bring people together, so that they could team up to ridicule said nerd.
True. And did you ever get called a nerd?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, a lot.
Now, was that because...
But not like in... I don't think I ever took it as an insult, though. Nobody said it with the aggression that sometimes you would hear. Like, I got called nerd, but it wasn't... Like, sometimes there was some real hate behind the word nerd.
By the time you were like preteen or something, though, or even teenager, would nerd still have been around? Because you're a few years... Like, you're like 6 years out from me. So nerd was... That's what I would have got called. There's a couple variants of it, like geek and stuff like that. But was there something that took over? Maybe in
what AC Slater used to call Zach Morris. Wait, did he call him geek? He called him something. It was definitely like a...
It could be a
nerd
variant.
Yes.
There you go. Nerd variant. There's a band name.
Question is, would Loki have a nerd variant?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, I don't even know if the word gets used anymore. Except
I'm
for
sure
like
it does.
Middle-aged guys that have a podcast and talk about old words, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it gets used. They just not as much. There's probably newer terms for it that are stupid.
Well, the newest variant of nerd is actually a band. Remember that?
No.
You don't remember that band?
No, yes, I remember NERD.
Yeah. Nerd.
I know that's what the letters put together spell, except for that.
What does it say? You're trying to say it spells nerf or something like that?
No, what I'm saying is it's got periods in it. So apparently it's some sort of acronym, which I don't know if it is.
Mm-hmm.
You would probably know by looking at the screen that is in your hand right now.
Let's see.
But yeah, that's one of the ways that Pharrell broke out. Pharrell was a big deal.
Yeah, especially when he started stealing everybody's music. Talented son of a bitch.
He didn't steal everybody's music.
There's only reason why he's going to court for all the songs he ripped off.
Nerd stands for no one ever really dies.
For the band? Or just...
If I may, from Last FM, nerd sound is a blend of rock, hip hop, and R&B. NERD stands for no one ever really dies.
Okay. I just learned that. So we do teach people stuff on this podcast.
Yes, I do teach you stuff on this podcast.
Well, yeah, that is true.
Just this time, I also taught myself something.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit different, I guess.
Yeah. I didn't hate them. Not a huge fan, but...
Who are your favorite nerds of the 80s?
Ooh, nerds of the 80s. You got to give it to, I guess the ultimate one was Bill Gates, right?
Sure, I guess so. I mean,
or Steve Jobs.
Also pretty good. I guess they were both nerds, kind of.
Well, Bill Gates is, no, he's totally a nerd because that's what you would have, the way he looked, or kind of still looks now, people would have labeled that as a nerd.
It is pretty impressive that billions upon billions of dollars he has, he still looks like that. It was funny because the other day I was listening to one of my Business Wars things, and it was Amazon and Walmart. And one of the things they went through is, when Bezos decided that he had to get into that fitness game, and all of a sudden he looked like a little pocket Hercules in his tiny baby Gap shirts and shit like that. Bill Gates has a lot of money, and he has never cared about that. He still looks like a frumpy weirdo. But
I heard he was
I would be a frumpy weirdo for that much money, I'll tell you that.
I heard he's a bit of a taskmaster. Tongue twister.
Isn't that somebody that is playing some certain board game?
Yeah. That'd be like a nerdy Dungeons and Dragons game, right?
I bet you he played Dungeons and Dragons.
I bet he freaking made his own. There's this documentary on Xbox and how Microsoft created it, and there's all these famous meetings with the gaming industry with Bill Gates. And
he wasn't going to do it.
What? Oh no, he didn't want to at all until some guys created this mock-up version, and with a wing and a prayer, literally they got that thing to work in front of him, but he thought it was going to fire up Windows, so he thought it was going to be a video game that played like what the computers do now, but couldn't possibly do back then.
Well, and the other thing is like the way he eventually got sold on giving it the green light to try it out was they sold him on it's going to be the center of the living room.
Oh yeah, which
then
they still tried to
switch
push
his mind because he was used to just being in the office.
Did you read about or hear about the Valentine's Day massacre
in Chicago in 19?
No, it's when he used to hold these things where he had this big spacious like place that he'd invite everybody from all at Microsoft to come work, or it was kind of like one of those things where you like vacay but you're working there while you're doing it, and he just it went really wrong on the Valentine's Day weekend, and he came into a boardroom and he just, I guess, laid down the law and was screaming and fired like 900 people, and they call it the Valentine's Day Massacre.
They shouldn't have fucked up.
Yeah. It surprised me because he's so soft spoken when you see him. I just couldn't, I could see him getting angry, but to see him be like, because people were scared of him, like tyrants scared of him. But I think to get to that position, you kind of got to be that way.
Yeah.
Ultimate nerd.
Especially because like nerd to the extreme, but
Nerdzilla.
You have to, because once you get to the top, there's nowhere to go but down, right? So the only way to stay at the top is literally go to the whip.
And people don't realize to get to that point, you really have to be ruthless. And it's kind of hard to make friends when you're chopping heads off to get to that point, because it's not show friends, it's show business.
But nicer note about him, and a very nerdy thing. You heard about his house that he built
in
the 90s and what it had.
It had, what did it, huh? Tell me.
It was right after the Windows 98 release. And so he built a home that had 98 windows.
Oh, no, I don't remember that. I was thinking something else.
Only a nerd with way too much money would do something like that. The only thing that would have been nerdier than that is somebody beating him to that joke and building their home with 98 windows because they were so into the Microsoft ecosystem.
I feel like that's something you would have done.
I don't have money for 98 windows. I don't even have money to change out the 8 windows in my home now.
98 windows. That's like one of my favorite 2000 bands.
Oh, no. That was, no. What?
98 Degrees.
Oh.
Man, if you're going to be in this podcast, you better get my boy band references.
Well, I was stuck.
You already screwed up, nerd.
I was stuck on 99 Luftballoons, which was a song and not a band, and that's where I was.
And that fits better because that's a flashback.
Also, it's 98 degrees, technically.
It is hot in here. So, all right. You got called a nerd.
Mm-hmm.
I never did, but other than like...
You never answered the question. You gave me one.
How far long ago was that?
Oh, solid 10 minutes.
You've been called a nerd. That was the question I gave you, right?
No, I gave you the question of what were some of your favorite nerds in the 80s. And you said Bill Gates, and then we went on a 10-minute diatribe.
Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. There you go. Or I don't know the actor's name that played the main nerd in Revenge of the Nerds.
I don't either.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you know who's my favorite nerd? He is, right? Ultimate nerd is Spock.
Think so?
But who's your favorite nerd from the 80s? Or I guess 90s, you could say too.
Yeah. I guess. Also, if you're sitting at home listening to this, I just want you to mark your calendars.
Oh,
this is the first time that he's asked the question in response in all the times we've done this particular exercise.
No.
So thanks, Dan, for involving me in the podcast today.
Thank you.
Who was my favorite nerd?
Yeah, so my favorite nerd was probably... Oh, wait, you're answering the question.
Alex P. Keaton.
Oh, that's a good one. God damn it. That's a really good one.
And he qualifies. He absolutely qualifies.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. I should have went to my TV history.
I was going to go super simple and just go the candy because I really do love Nerds candy.
Mm-hmm.
But no. Alex P. Keaton was the nerd to sort of beat all nerds.
I was going to suggest the Nerds candy was just about the best candy in the 80s.
It was pretty great.
I still love it.
Mm-hmm.
That was literally crack.
Yeah. The only thing that makes me sad about it now is for the most part, you can only find it at like Halloween in the tiniest, stupidest box ever. Like I liked, and you know what? Kids today won't understand this because I don't think this exists anymore. But like when nerds were at their height, it was a box, but it was 2 boxes. Well, there was a division in the box, and you had a little tab that you could pull on either side so that you could pick which of the flavors you were going to have.
Yeah, that was the best. And you could mix the flavors like a true crackhead. And those were just straight.
Maybe that's why it's not popular anymore.
Straight sugar nuggets. That's all those were.
Yeah. I don't know if I like those more and understand I don't mean the regular size ones. I mean the 3-foot long ones, Pixie Sticks. Like if you were going to get a sugar rush, Pixie Sticks were the way to go.
Straight snorting 80s right there.
What do you think the kids that were being called nerds in the 80s were doing? Like what was an activity or thing that you had to do to be called a nerd? I guess is the way I'm asking that question.
It probably honestly depend on like, what's weird now is like now kids can wear glasses without lenses half the time, have braces, and it's totally cool. You try to get that as soon as you can. You had that, you were labeled nerd instantly in the 80s. So that right there, stuff that's out of your control.
D&D kids, are those nerds?
Yeah.
Okay.
The mathletes, the guys who were really good at math.
Shut up.
The ultimate nerds, right?
Quiz team, yeah, they're probably nerds too.
Yeah.
I was also on that.
But you can do all that stuff now and it can be kind of cool.
I guess.
I mean, they make movies about choirs and stuff. Yeah, it can be cool. Right?
Sure, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there was like delineations though. Like we're talking nerd and it being sort of all encompassing of that general thing. Whereas I think in the 80s there was some deviation to it where like I think D&D people would have been classified more as geeks in the 80s than nerds.
Yeah, but I think maybe that's because nerd was more, like I said, but there's a little bit of difference in time with us. Like 5 or 6 years can be a big deal, especially at that age where you're looking at like 10-year-olds to like 15 or 16, right?
Sure.
So you guys had already moved on and you'd had moved that nerd needle a bunch within 5 to 6 years from when I was in like a little shithead calling people nerds, which I don't even remember calling anybody a nerd, but I'm sure I did.
I don't think I ever did it, if only because I fell into the category. So it was like, how am I going to tell anybody else that they're a nerd?
You're such a nerd. Nud.
Like, literally pot calling the kettle black.
Actually, I probably shouldn't say this, but when my son was younger, like real young, like 2 or 3, when he's first learning how to talk, he had like that, not necessarily a speech impediment, but like kids like maybe don't enunciate as best they can. And it's just because it lasted a little
Sometimes
longer.
it's kids, sometimes it's guys that are nearly 50.
Mm-hmm. You?
I'm not nearly 50.
Don't put yourself down like that, dude. It's right around the corner. But he used to call his older sister a nud. You're such a nud. So for like,
that's the closest thing you've ever done to a British accent. And
does that sound British?
Yeah, it's weird, right? Like you aren't trying, you're trying to do something else. And I don't know what you're trying to do, but you accidentally stumbled yourself into a British accent.
So I need to write all these down. And like when I'm trying to do British, do my nerd accent. When I'm trying to do Australian, do like my British accent.
When you think of trying to do your Australian accent, just shut your mouth and move on to the next thing.
Okay.
That way we don't have to hear the terrible, terrible attempt.
I've tried that. It doesn't work.
Oh. Why does it? Because you still try to say it with your mouth shut?
Mm-hmm. It's actually not too bad. I'm a ventriloquist on my other podcast. It's called Speaking Out My Ass.
You know what? That sounds stupid, but I'm going to tell you why it's funny. Because immediately what my head went to was ventriloquist. That's the English word for what I was trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Puppet master.
Mm-hmm. With a talking donkey as his puppet, and his show on the road was going to be called Speaking Out of My Ass.
Speaking Out of My Ass. That works.
It's effing genius, and hopefully Jeff Dunham picks up on that and does something with
Only
it.
a true nerd could have came up with that so quickly. That would be you.
Okay. I'll own it.
Right.
I am a true nerd.
I'm a little bit.
Would a nerd spill all his beer on the floor during a podcast? Probably, because I did.
Yeah. I think we're both nerds. I'm a nerd at heart. I love geeky stuff.
Well, which are you, nerd or geek?
It depends on the day. Depends on what pants I'm wearing.
You take just any geek off the streets.
See, can't do that
About to
with
be
this
quick
episode.
with the steel.
Can't do that with this episode.
Oh.
Bastard.
I can.
And I will. Flashback Friday. Always successful. Always a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a little more than usual.
Listen, mistakes were made.
Yeah. Hopefully mistakes that can be fixed in post.
I don't know. I think you kind of should just leave it in. Like, it is pretty funny that I spilled my beer.
I can't wait to hear that and see if it translates. Guess I could add the sound effects. Oh, my beer. Put it in slow-mo. Because that's kind of what you sound like.
I feel like I would have been more like, no.
All right. Flashback Friday. I'm hungry. You hungry?
Yeah, not for Canes, but I guess we can get it anyway.
We can do Carl's. You were talking about that enough.
No, I had Carl's already.
Let's have it again.
No, the kids want Canes.
Carl's Jr.
Everybody
This
in the,
episode's for you.
everybody in the family likes Canes except me,
Carl's Jr., this is for you. Even Hardee's.
especially Hardee's.
Thank you for going to the flashback with us. It's kind of like our personal Michael J. Fox, right?
Isn't it?
Not really, but tried to make it work. Drop that beer again. We can end this podcast the right way.
It's more like a dumb Lorian. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Hell,
only the nerds would know.
you can't just say only the nerds would know to everything.
But that's why I know everything you talk about.
You don't know everything I talk about.
Yeah, because your nerd is on another level. So sometimes you got to pull me up to that level. It's scary up there.
It is scary up there, and the
Not a lot of people up there.
the rope has to be extra thick. You lose a couple because it's hard dragging you all the way up there.
You gonna lose me on this one?
Baby, I'm already gone.
Oh man, this is hang out with your slang out Flashback Friday. I'm dead.
And I'm Matt, still on the mountaintop, being little nerd city USA up here, all by my lonesome. 'Cause he's not nerdy enough. Maybe next time we'll have a new host for you that can pull his weight.
You want to quit pulling on things and let me push the button?
Yeah, push the button.
Nerd
Go
out.
ahead. Oh,
Nerd.
do it. Push a button.
Nerd
See what
out.
happens. Go. Just do it. Do it. Come on.
Hello?
It's weird, right?
Cool. Ugh. You're like whispering in my ear holes.
No, I'm not. You would know. See? That's whispering in your ear holes. Boing, 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 boing.
Boy. That's cool.
Yeah, when you did it the first time, you didn't put on the headphones, huh? So you didn't get to hear yourself.
Doot. Is that cool?
It kind of hurt my ears, if we're being honest.
What if I just screamed into
Yeah, don't do that.
Come on, guys.
Hello, hello, hello. Time for the British podcast. I'm Matthew. This is my co-host Tyler. Somehow it veered into a little bit of an Australian accent. Whoa. Nigel.
And I'm now leaving. Bye, gang.
This is Nigel Ray.
Nigel Ray.
Yeah, that's his middle name.
Ray.
Yeah,
Who chose Ray?
I did.
You know what would have been a good name? Willie.
For his middle name? Not unless his first name was Nacho.
Nacho Willie.
What kind of Willie isn't yours? Nacho Willie.
Bye, gang.